So we're going to begin today's webinar. I welcome you all. My name is Shivika. Thanks for joining us today. This webinar is brought to you by Varthana. We at Varthana, we are doing this webinar for school development to ensure that schools are able to maintain the quality education. We're just we're just aiming to support school to achieve this goal. So we are doing these webinars for schools, and we are doing on different themes. So our current theme is the 21st century education. So far, we have covered adopting and evolving essential skill for school leadership, how to build equitable school, power of technology in 21st century learning. And today we'll be talking about how to think beyond traditional assessment in 21st century. And even in coming days, we'll be coming with more webinars. And our upcoming theme is it's related to school development and growth. And our next webinar would be on self-evaluation and importance of school growth. So please stay tuned to us for that. So let's move ahead and see what is today's agenda of this webinar. So we'll be starting with introduction and session objectives. Why there's a need to change from traditional assessment and move. What is the difference between traditional and modern assessment? Assessment technique for 21st century classroom. Some implementation strategies, challenges which you'll face to implement these assessment, also ways to overcome, followed by feedback and closing. Also, I'll want to share another guideline. Sorry, I missed it previously. We'll be issuing the participation certificate to the participants for the webinar. So please stay tuned, fill the feedback form, ensure that you're filling the feedback form. Otherwise, we won't be able to issue the participation certificate to you. So please stay tuned for that. Let's start with introduction. I'll be launching a poll to understand the participant profile. Please opt for your profile. I have launched the poll. I'm going to publish the result. Thank you for joining us today. Most of the people who have joined us today are teachers, and then we have a lot of school leader principal as well, followed by coordinators. So as I said that I hope this will add a lot of value, but I'll also want you to share your experiences and your understanding about the assessment to make this webinar productive. So let's start with today's objective. So today's objective will focus on understanding the importance of assessment and learn about the modern assessment technique of the 21st century, to explore implementation of holistic assessment and what are the challenges and some ways to overcome. So this would be this is the objective of today's webinar. Let's start with a quick check of assessment, our understanding of assessment. So I'm going to launch a poll here. I'll request everyone to please vote. The poll is, which of the following is not a type of assessment? So I have launched the poll. I'm going to wait here for 30 seconds. Please share your responses. So I have published the result. You can see that many people have opted for different options. Some has opted for technology enhanced, performance, brainstorming. The correct answer is brainstorming is not an assessment form. We'll talk about others later. So let's jump and understand assessment more. I'm sure like we all know under assessment, what is assessment. Let's do a quick recap of what is assessment and why it is important. So assessment is a method used by educators to ensure and evaluate whether whatever they are teaching to a student, it's being taken and there is a learning outcome which is getting achieved. So it's to ensure that the student is academically ready. There's learning progress which is happening, and also skill acquisition of students. So if you talk about test, there's a difference between test and assessment. Test is just checking what a person know. Assessment is also ensuring and checking these skills as well as enhancing the learning in the process, not only checking the knowledge of or a conceptual understanding of something. Why it is important? Measuring the learning outcome, whatever a teacher is trying to deliver or whatever a teacher is trying to achieve, the learning outcome achieve, whether it's getting delivered and what is the outcome of it. Goals for goal setting. When you take assessment, you get the understanding what is working, what is not working, where do you want to take it from here. So it helps you to set realistic goal and achieve that goal. So it's important to assess the performance and then take decision related to goal based on the outcome. Individualized instruction. So assessment also like ensure that like individualized needs are being catered. So we all know that students are from different learning different students are with different learning ability, different learning style. So assessment caters that as well. So we'll deep dive into it moving on. It also helps you to make this data driven decision making. So assessment help you with the data, that what is the outcome and how you can take it from there. It gives you the insight to make decision, that which are the things you need to focus more on, what is working, what is not. Feedback and improvement, it's a continuous loop. Assessment helps you to understand that whether whatever the goal you have set, it's getting achieved or not, what are the challenges you're facing, if you need some support in between, and how you can improve it. So this is about assessment and its importance. Let's see that why there's the need to change the traditional assessment. That we all know that the current assessment method which we are using in school is mostly traditional. Though these days schools have started incorporating the modern assessment method and a holistic as well. But the most widely used method is still traditional assessment. So why there's a need to change it? We all know that we are living in this technology like we are living in this tech savvy world where things are evolving, new technologies coming every day. There's artificial intelligence which have started giving a lot of data. So if you see, all the information and data is within a click. Like, and earlier we used to do through additional the traditional assessment was to ensure that whatever the knowledge content is there or not. But right now the knowledge and the content availability is out there. Our focus is how to move beyond that. So it's important with this changing and evolving education system, and we need to start focusing on more of holistic learning, that you already have the knowledge, how to implement and utilize the knowledge in best possible way. The traditional assessment only provides the overview of the student capability. It doesn't give you the understanding of the strength a student has. And also the capabilities are measured on the basis of a standardized assessment, which is not fair. Maybe as a student I can be good at writing but not at speaking, but my teacher is only assessing me based on my writing exam or the written exam. So it's unfair, and it doesn't give the holistic understanding of holistic understanding of my performance as a student, because the way I'm being measured is not the way I learn or I'm good at. So it's important to move from it. We are also living in 21st century skill where there's a lot of emphasis on critical thinking, innovation, creativity, problem solving skill, collaboration. As I said, that information is available. It's time where we need to start pushing ourselves, for the school system, teachers, student, everyone, how to look beyond that, how to more indulge in problem solving only, instead of only restricting to the content information and these things. So it's important, and as we all are in 21st century skill, we need to start building these skills, because in the future the kind of job we'll be indulged in is more relevant when you have these skills. There is no, like, the traditional is not a diversified approach. It fails to cater the individual need. As I've mentioned, that maybe I'm not a auditory student, I'm a kinesthetic student, but my teacher is asking me to give an auditory assessment, or assessing everyone based on how better I am with the oral exam. So that's unfair, and it's not, again, a holistic approach. So there is this clear need of changing the assessment and moving from traditional assessment. Let's also understand what NEP is saying about the assessment. So we all know that NEP recommendation, NEP 2020 came, and they have given a lot of recommendation, and they also have a lot of committees set to start working on these recommendations. So some of the implication on assessment by NEP is their focus is on transforming the assessment for optimizing the learning outcome, and also focuses to develop the student. So let's see that what are the implications on assessment. So NEP has talked about assessment reform, that we need to change, again, from the traditional method, we need to go towards more of holistic approach. Reduction in board exam, we are quite familiar with it, that we won't have the board exam what we used to have earlier. Assessment at multiple levels. So in traditional assessment, what we have is have mostly the summative assessment. So you teach everything, and towards the end you assess the student, whatever you have taught, the student have learned it or not. So here, like NEP is talking about multiple level assessment, and we'll be covering about it, that how in modern assessment, how using modern assessment, you can cater this assessment flexibility. Again, there can be multiple ways of taking those assessments, but we are still quite comfortable with doing the traditional assessment. So it also talks about flexibility. Maybe as a student, I'm not available for an offline exam, so I can opt for online exam. And there's this examination through proctoring. So you can just sit at a place, open your video cam and give it. Also, the assessment can be of different types. It can be open book assessment. It can be assessment where you just like do a project, and you are being assessed based on the project, not only based on written exam, which we are following for so far. So NAP talks a lot about formative plus summative assessment. What we are doing till now is more of a summative assessment. So let's see that what are the features of assessment NAP is talking about. As I've mentioned, that it should be regular. The assessment should be regular at multiple levels, not towards the end of unit test, or towards the end of a school. It can be towards the end of a period or towards the end of a week. So NEP is talking about the same, that it should be regular, formative in nature, and competency based. So what we are still we are trying to analyze is more of knowledge based, not the competency based. So we have to start focusing on that. Also, the focus on assessment for learning. So assessment, our first understanding of assessment is knowing how much a person knows. But NEP is talking about that even like along with checking how much a child knows, it's important to help the child learn using this process. So they're talking about learning through assessment, not only like assessing to know the level of the student. Focuses on promoting learning and development of the student, and also test high order skills. The skills I have already talked about is 21st century skill, creativity, collaboration, problem solving skill. Because again, we are living in a world where things can be done. Like things can be done. You have to have those skills to ensure that you're growing with the changing world. NEP also talks about, NEP has also said that like they have set up this Parak National Assessment Center, which will bring great synergy for board examination across board, which is not there right now. So these are some of the implications by NEP on assessment. Let's understand. So far, we have covered what is assessment, why it is important, and why there's a need to change, what NEP is talking about it. Let's also see how traditional is different from modern. And then I want everyone to reflect that what sort of assessment you're using in your school and put it in the chat box. So please pay attention here and hope for more engagement. So in traditional assessment, the emphasis is more on rote learning, knowing the content. The focus is mostly on the content and the knowledge. In modern assessment, it also talks about the competency. That means knowing something and implementing those knowledge, and having those competencies, collaboration, and these things. And it's beyond memorization. Highly standardized, as I said, that maybe I'm good at I'm good verbally, but my examination pattern is writing. Maybe I'm not someone who's good at writing, but the standardized assessment is judging and telling me that maybe I'm not good at studies because I'm not able to fit in the same pattern. They are trying to assess me. There's uniform questions, quite monotonous, and I think in today's world, students have started predicting that what sort of question they'll get in the exam, right? So even the effort they used to put earlier to know the content or to gain the knowledge, now their focus is more to get a question paper, practice accordingly, and go and utilize that knowledge. So uniform question is there, uniform format is there. They're aware of the format. Students are aware of the format, and in a way, it's not that interesting and challenging as well. On the other hand, modern assessment can be tailored made. So I know that maybe one of the student can do better in oral. So I can have a diverse assessment type. I can do something which is related to test the auditory learner, kinesthetic learner, or visual learners. So it can be tailor-made depending on the needs and style of the learner. In traditional assessment, again, it's mostly summative towards the end of the course or towards the end of the exercise, end of the unit test. The duration of these assessments are at a longer duration. In modern assessment, the focus is formative as well as summative assessment at regular intervals, and along with a lot of real world relevance, promotes collaboration, because in today's world, uh, if you see people growing, and we are living in this entrepreneurship culture, so collaboration, communication, these skills are quite relevant. And like service sector is declining in a way, and there's a lot of upcoming entrepreneurship which is coming. So these skills are quite relevant for future job growth and expansion. Traditional assessment limited feedback, whatever the assessment. So if I, as a child, if I'm giving an exam, my feedback is just how much marks I have scored. So out of 40 I've scored 30, maybe I'm doing good, I'm a average or above average student. But it's not giving me a clear understanding in which topic I'm lacking, which are the core competencies I'm not able to solve. So am I good at probability, or am I struggling with word problem? Is that something related to my language competency? So the clear understanding is not being provided in the traditional assessment. On the other hand, modern assessment have clear rubric in place or detailed constructive feedback, that okay, out of these four things, maybe you're able to achieve three of it, and let's focus on how you can do the fourth thing. So I'm going to talk about that in detail. Moving on, but this is the like difference between traditional and modern assessment. I want to like request everyone to reflect a bit and share it in chat box, that what do you think, what sort of assessment method you are using currently in your school? Is it traditional mostly, or modern? And if you want to share, you can also raise your hand. I'll unmute you from my end, and then you can share your views on it. Anyone wants to share what sort of assessment method you are using? Your school? I can see four people, they have raised their hand, but it's way back, 20, 25 minutes back. If you want to share something right now, please raise your hand again. We don't have okay, I can see some responses here. From a worksheet both ways. Okay, traditional, formative assessment or modern assessment in our organization. Yes. We use pen paper working by. Okay, thank you. Yes, so there are few schools, and like on everyone is trying to also start including modern assessment, but still the widely used method is traditional assessment so far. So let's move on and see what are the limitations of these assessment, because we are using it. What are the limitations which we are facing using this assessment? So as I've mentioned, the focus is more on recalling and reproducing of the factual knowledge. So the method is essay exam, where there's open-ended question and or prompt, and our kid has to respond to it. What is the limitation of this assessment? So it's time consuming. As a teacher, it's time consuming for you to assess what a student have written. Also, there's a lot of inconsistency in the evaluation. So for example, I am a grade 5 teacher. I rate a student depending on my understanding, not maybe not exactly what the student have written. So it also brings a lot of biasness as a teacher, that if I'm like assessing a summative exam, or a written essay exam, the score also depends on my understanding of the topic, and that's how you see that the score varies from teacher to teachers, different through different person who have assessed them. The other is standardized test. I have already covered, what is the issue with the standardized test. Different type of learners, different learning style, but we all are trying to measure them in same boat. So for example, if you'll ask someone to, like if you ask a fish to climb the tree, that's not possible. So it's same with the standardized test, and has the same limitation, that it may not like gauge the it may not able to cater all the students. Also it's difficult to like gauge the difficult and complex concept. So maybe for example, if I want a student to like implement a knowledge, implement a skill they have learned. So for example, I want to see the communication skill. Standardized test is not going to give me this uh, it's not going to provide me a platform where I can test this communication skill of a student. So the application, assessing the application is difficult in this assessment. That's one of the limitation. And also it's difficult to understand that the mastery of the subject is being achieved or not, because maybe the question you're catering or asking, the child is aware of it. They may be aware of the pattern, or they have just only studied the question and answer, and they may not have try to develop or build the conceptual understanding of the topic. So these are some of the limitations, and I think till this slide, we should we all may agree that it's important to move from traditional assessment and go to modern assessment. So let's see that what are some of the techniques for a modern classroom. So I'm going to start here with a poll. So what do you think, like which of these are example of 21st century assessment? I'm going to launch a poll here. I'll request everyone to please vote. I have launched the poll. What do you think, which of these examples are of 21st century assessment? We have covered a lot about traditional assessment so far. It's a multiple response question. You can opt for more than one answer. I'm going to publish the result here. So the most voted is role play and presentation, though exit ticket is also one of the modern assessment. Homework is not, that's not helping you to assess a student performance, and essay to a great extent, depending on again how you're taking it. So thank you for your participation. Except homework, all of these are part of modern assessment. Essay, it depends on whether you're using a rubric or not to assess the writing skill, sorry. So let's move on and see that what are the assessment techniques for the 21st century classroom. I hope we all are convinced so far that there's a need to shift from our assessment method. So the type of assessment which is of 21st century is formative. NEP has also put a lot of emphasis that instead of assessing student at towards the end of the course or towards the end after completion of chapter, it's important to have regular intervals, checking the understanding at interval, at regular intervals, and that can be done using formative assessment. I'll also talk about these assessment type in detail. The other is project-based learning. There's a lot of emphasis as the one of the feature is also learning while assessing. So project-based learning gives you that opportunity of helping student to learn as well while you are assessing their understanding of the concept. The other is performance assessment. Based on performance, how much they're able to reflect, use the content knowledge, and present that content knowledge. It's there. The other is authentic, knowing something, applying that knowledge in front of a live audience, or so it helps to build the presentation skill. It helps to build the communication skill. So this is again one of the assessment type. The other is technology enhanced assessment, where you use technology to do the modern assessment, and it's again quite effective because kids are more tech savvy these days, and especially post pandemic, they're very good at it and they learn things quickly using technology. So maybe as a school or as a teacher, we also start moving and shifting in this moving world. So let's understand what is formative assessment. So formative assessment is evaluating and providing feedback on of the learning, not only how much a student has learned, also the journey of the learning. The primary purpose is to have this understanding that what I know, what are the areas of improvement, and how I can do it better. So that is the element of the assessment is continuous feedback. So if you assess a student, so if I'm assessing a 5th grade student after 6 months, so it's very difficult for me to start teaching from chapter 1, 2, 3, which I have already covered, and maybe after 6 months I realize that whatever I have taught as a educator so far is not the student is not able to cope up with it. The understanding is not there. So it's difficult for me to go back and reverse everything and revise everything in a short duration, and that also impacts the other student who are there in the classroom. Formative assessment help you to understand and have this constant feedback and reflection, that which are the students who are doing well, who needs more support, which are the topic I need to cover effectively, and that also helps you to build a better lesson plan. So if you're doing formative assessment, your planning would be better, and the outcome will be good. It helps you to identify the learning gap. As I said, that identifying something after 6 months is not gonna help you as a teacher or as a school to rework on it. And if you see, these students will keep on moving on the higher grades, and the consistency and performance will keep on declining. The formative assessment helps you to identify the learning gap and address it then and there. Adaptive teaching and individualized support. We all know that a student have different learning needs, different learning style. This formative assessment help you to assess them depending on their needs and their understanding, and also teach them using this. So it's important. This is one of the element. It helps student to self-regulate and enhance this student ownership. So when you indulge them in these processes, it gives them the self of ownership, and also a bit of confidence. Just a score is not going to define my worth as a student. Maybe I can be good at participation, I can be good at teamwork. So that helps me to regulate my motivation as a student, and also enhances ownership, that, oh, this project is given to me, I am responsible for it, I'm going to do it on time. So these are some of the elements. Also, formative assessment give a lot of data because it's conducted at a regular interval using varieties of activities and methods. So it generates a lot of data and helps an educator or a school to make data-driven decision making. And when I'm saying for school, maybe as a school owner, you'll get to know that which sort of training is required. Is that related to behavior, pedagogy, technology-related training? So these data are quite helpful for the school leaders as well. So let's see at what are some of the examples. So classroom discussion. Maybe I have taught a subject. I have taught how to write an article. So you can just do a quick classroom discussion on it, and it's also time saving. If you see, along with compared to other assessment, formative assessment can be quick to do, and it's very helpful to even do quick revision. So it's quite crucial to include it. So you can just do a quick discussion or whatever you have taught. So you have covered a chapter, maybe you have covered not motorcycle, rain harvesting. You can just have a quick discussion on this, what you have understood by rain harvesting and how you can do it, what is the procedure. So you can include a student in quick revision or discussion, classroom discussion. Questioning technique, you can intrigue their interest by using different technique and also help them to reflect. That is one of the effective method. Other is exit ticket. You can give them an exit ticket. Hannah, what you have learned in today's class, what do you like the most, and what do you like to learn more? Can you share 2 of your learnings for the day? So these techniques are quite helpful to do quick formative assessment within the class, and also understand, check the student understanding of whatever you have taught or the learning objective which you want to achieve for the particular topic. Other is think, pair, share. So here, if you see, you are assessing what the knowledge is, but also help to build the competency. So if you see classroom discussion, a child is learning communication. If you are talking about questioning technique, the kid is trying to being critical and answer and reflect. Exit ticket is sort of helping to write the responses. Think, pair, share. This activity is helping them to again reflect and collaborate and share and be a good listener. So the skill development is happening side by side. But when you see the traditional assessment, the skill development is not happening that long when you're assessing them. So the other is quick quiz or poll. This is again quite effective. You help them to reflect and do this quickly, and also this helps to check the conceptual understanding of the student, which a long essay failed So essay may fail to check those quick understanding. So let's see for which subjects these this assessment format is gonna be effective. It's for, though it's effective for all the subjects, but mostly effective for like teaching or assessing studies, language, mathematics, science, and social science. Because it's difficult to do these things for a subject like maths. So we'll also be covering that which technique would be more effective for which subject. So let's move to the next technique, that is project-based learning. As I've said, that there's a lot of emphasis on project-based learning by NEP, because a kid learns a lot of things using project-based. So a simple example is that you learn swimming not only by studying or reading about swimming. You learn it by doing it, or you understand the understanding of gravity. Maybe you know it in terms of words or the definition, but until unless you're not going and exploring it outside, or relating it with the real world, it's difficult to make or develop the conceptual understanding without adding or seeing it in its relevance in our real world. So, what is project based learning? It's an approach where the focus is to complete a task, a meaningful task, and facilitate deep learning and develop essential skill, all the skill, 21st century skill. And as I said, that this is one of the technique which is very effective. One of the thing which can be a struggle is who is guiding the planning of it, the resources, as well as the time constraint. So if you see, formative assessment is something which you can do quickly, but project based assessment takes time to do it. But these techniques are quite effective, so you can pick which is suitable for which scenario. So we'll be covering that while implementing, what are the things you need to take care of or cover. So the element of project based learning is it's driving question and problem. So it's not only knowing something, going beyond knowing something and questioning and being innovative about like solution of the problem by identifying and questioning the problem. It's based on inquiry and research. There's a lot of data out there available. How much a child is able to question what they want to learn, do research around it. A design project and hands-on working. As we all know that hands-on working is quite effective. When you learn something while doing it, stays in our long-term memory. So it's important. And we all know that there's a lot of ideation is required, developing a prototype, implementing, testing, and tracking is important. So project-based learning give all that thing, which helps to do the creative development of a student. The focus is a lot on collaboration, communication, critical thinking. I think this is one of the technique which covers all the essential skill. So as a school, we all should start incorporating project-based learning. It helps in reflection and real-world connection. As I said, that maybe if I just in context or in content, if I'm teaching something, what is gravity, but if I say even if I'm moving, there's gravity involved. The rotation of earth, gravity has its role in it. So building that real world connection is important, and that is done when a kid is involved in doing something, exploring, researching, and coming up with their own ideas, prototypes, and presentation. So let's see some of the example. A small scale model. Student can make a simple circuit model where they use a battery switch, a bit of wiring, and generate electricity using that battery. So small scale model can be made and performed and shown to the student to develop the skill. Informative and engaging documentary. Maybe you can just give them a topic, ask them to go explore. So, for example, I want kids to learn about Gram Panchayat. So I just give them some duration that you go record, take the responses, build a questionnaire, gather the information, record their responses, and make a documentary and present it. So these are real life learning. So I maybe as a teacher, I am facilitating the same content, but more into more into engaging, more using engaging method, and it's quite interesting for the student also to learn. Other is write and produce a short film. Again, we are living in media world, and this is something. This is like one of the example which kids are quite excited about. Other is art installation, making some art, installing it, explaining it, and while explanation, there is skill building which is happening. That is communication, presentation skill, driving awareness campaign. So some of the subject which can be effectively taught using this method is mathematics, environmental science studies, social sciences, history, geography. Maybe not that effective in for English and language related subject. So I hope like the difference is clear that when to use which sort of assessment, or which sort of assessment, which assessment would be more beneficial for which subject. The other is performance assessment. Performance assessment is a method of evaluating a student by ensuring that they are able to demonstrate the knowledge, whatever they have learned, demonstrate their skill, ability, and the competencies in the real world context. So it's clear from the word performance that demonstrating or checking or assessing a student by seeing what they are doing and how they are doing it, using the knowledge they have. So some of the elements of performance assessment is authentic task. The task should be authentic and should have relevance, clear criteria and rubrics. So for example, I want a student to write a report, but there's no clear rubric related to that. So it's important to develop those clear rubric that, okay, if a kid is able to do 4 or 3 out of like a kid is not able to perform 100% but doing 80% of it. If I'm asking a kid to write a letter, a kid is able to write the salutation, the body, but missing the last part of it. What should be the criteria? How much mark I should assign, instead of just saying zero or not knowing exactly for what I'm assessing? Maybe you can assess the student based on the structure of the content knowledge, the punctuation. Instead of just saying that I have asked a kid to write a report, what is the outcome of the report? Active engage and demonstration of the competency, active engagement and demonstration of the competency. A kid is involved in doing that process, application of knowledge and skill, feedback and revision. So these are some of the elements of performance assessment. When a kid is implementing the knowledge they know, and there's this constant feedback and revision. Some of the example is presentation. So you have the content, you work on the content, you prepare a proper flow, make a presentation, come and present it. So it's an authentic task. You are learning, but you're learning while doing it, by presenting it, by performing it. So it's presentation, case study. So it also helps to develop this reflective skill, where you are sitting, assessing, trying to utilize your knowledge to come up with a solution. Not only knowing something and producing the same time something. It's like more of knowing something, utilizing that knowledge, and then come up with a solution, the authentic original solution of it, which you think according which the student think it should be according to them. Field study and impact assessment. So again, they're performing, they're going and analyzing. So for example, I want a student to create this environmental related awareness in the community. So for that, I want them to go to the community, see what is happening, what are the challenges they are facing, what are the resources available, mapping the community, do a proper field study, and then produce a result. So they are involved and indulge in the task. They're just not producing something, they're indulging in that task and then producing the outcome. The other is education campaign, sort of cleared. Also the sportsmanship. So if you see, there's a lot of physical development which happens, especially in early childhood stage. So if you want to assess the physical development of a student, so performance assessment can be one of the method, where you'll be assessing the fine motor development, gross motor development, using different sports activities. So this assessment is quite crucial for assessing pre-primary or early, for assessing those students who are in pre-primary section. Some of the subject which is can be cater effectively using this method is art, English, maths, and physical education. English, maths by using different rubric. So for example, I have asked a student to prove Pythagoras theorem, but maybe the student is able to only do 2 steps. But in traditional method, if you see, I may end up giving 0 to the student and declare that the student doesn't know anything. But in this performance assessment, it helps me to understand at what level the student is. Maybe the student is able to do 2 steps of the process, and failing to complete it, or maybe the student is able to reach to the answer or conclusion directly but not aware of the process. So it's important for these subjects by developing proper rubric to say that, okay, if everything is correct, a student is able to solve using all the proper steps to solve the or to prove the Pythagoras theorem. I'll give 4 out of like 4. If a student is able to solve and draw only like one equation of it, I'll give 3. Have solved 2 steps of it, I'll give 2. If the kid has only attempted, then in that case I'll give 1. So that's how you can like justify the performance. And also I think this is quite helpful, especially in low fee private school, because the teacher attrition is an issue. So if one as a teacher, if you are taking over a class, if you have a proper rubric in place, it's easy for you to assess the student based on what the other teacher have already taught them, not based on like your understanding as a teacher. So it also helps to take over other classes as a teacher and start teaching from where the other teacher have left the content. So the other assessment type is authentic assessment type. Here, it's different because it's in the front of the authentic audience. It's in front of a real situation. It's related to a real situation. It's not only knowing in something, it's also demonstrating the knowledge in the real world. So some of the elements of this should be authentic assessment is real world relevance. It has real world relevance, task variety. So you're not doing one thing again and again. Maybe you're learning the same concept, doing different activities. Open-ended nature. There's a lot of scope of creativity in this. Application of skill and knowledge, whatever you have learned, followed by authentic audience and time bound. Like there is authentic audience, there's a duration which is allocated to this, and again helps to save the time or keep it within the time limit. So some of the example is report writing. So you ask student, you go assess, see what you have observed, what is your own reflection, come write a report, and then you'll be able to also monitor them at multiple parameters using these techniques. Other is presentation, role play, or like whatever you have learned, do a role play of it, and then do it. So there's an audience in this, if you see, in which the task is being performed. Exhibition is another example. Research and documentation. So let's see which are the subjects which like needs this like which is quite which will like there would be added value to teach these subject using this assessment is environmental studies, language, physical education and science, performing something physically. uh, so let's move and see technology enhanced assessment. I think few of the people have voted that this is not one of the modern assessment type, but we'll talk about it in detail. So it's basically assessing a student knowledge and understanding by using different tools, and it also helps to create learning more engaging, and it's effective, especially because there's a lot of data which is auto generated using this method, and this will help you and give you clear insight that what is happening and what is the teaching level or the learning outcome of the student. Element of performance assessment is its interactive assessment. Again, I'll go back and relate it with NEP, that the assessment should be engaging and interactive. So this assessment type is going to add a lot of value. It provides immediate feedback. So if you see project-based learning is time taking, maybe the authentic assessment takes time, but in technology enhanced assessment, the feedback you can provide immediately, especially if you see the if you come see it in compared to traditional assessment. So there you sit, read an entire paragraph, answer, and then provide feedback. That too, the feedback is non-concrete. Using technology, you can provide the concrete feedback, and it's a quick feedback. There's a lot of auto-generated score. It saves a lot of time. Data analysis and remote assessment gives you opportunity to assess a child remotely, and also there's a lot of data which is getting generated, so that can also be used effectively. Like one of the features is gamification. We all know that how much kids are interested these days to like explore phone, explore different apps, and learn using these apps. So the technology enhanced assessment gives this opportunity of gamification, gamified assessment, and there are a lot of online sites which are available. Kahoot is one of them, using which you can just assess them, and you can add different quizzes and polls and make the assessment interactive. Also, you get the immediate score, the immediate feedback, which conceptual understanding of which topic is lacking, or which student can do better in which area. So these are some of the elements. Some of the example is online quizzes and tests. As I've mentioned, that there's a lot of online forum which is available to do these tests, and you'll also get a lot of ready-made tests. So we have made this handout. We have add these like links there. You'll get that, and you can explore these techniques using that handout. Open book assessment is one of them. So the focus is again not knowing, it's knowing, also understanding which one to apply when. So maybe I, as a student, I may understand compounding, or I may understand simple interest, compound interest, but I'm not able to like put it in a place that which one I should use when. So these assessment helps you to use the knowledge, but also implement the knowledge. So open book assessment is one of it. Video assessment, where a kid can record a video. The various skills are being catered in that, and submit the assessment. Online discussion forums and blog that will enhance the communication skill, the writing skill, also the content knowledge and understanding. Leaderboard, so this helps to motivate student a lot, where they can see that how much they're performing and compared to others, and this will also have this sense of healthy competition and how they can do it better. So there's a lot of small leaderboard uh, scores are there. So technology enhanced assessment gives the student this availability of their own understanding of content, and also make it engaging and interactive. So some of the subject which can be covered as commerce, business, and economics, you can show them different charts, how this fluctuation, what is happening. Computer science, English, maths, and science. But if you see doing, or maybe social science assessment using this technique can be a bit tricky. I'm not saying it's not possible, but maybe if you do something related to performance or authentic or project based, that is more effective in that case. So these are the assessment type, which are modern assessment type for the holistic development of student, classroom, as well as teacher. Let's move and see that how we can implement these assessment strategies. So the way to implement holistic assessment strategies to first is to focus on the learning outcome. So now you know what are the techniques for this holistic assessment. What you should be focusing while implementing the holistic assessment strategy. You need to have a clear objective, the clear learning objective, that what do you want to achieve, what do you want to teach as a student, and what do you want them to learn towards the end of the content, like whatever you are teaching, what do you want them to learn. So it's important to have that clear learning objective. Also select right assessment type. So for example, I want to check the writing I want to check the writing competency of a student, and if I'm taking online quiz, that's not effective, right? So it's important to incorporate right assessment for the right subject and task. Provide clear rubrics and instruction. So maybe instead of just saying that, as per my understanding, I'm giving a score, have a clear set of instruction that a kid is able to write three sentence correctly. I'm gonna give a three. If a child is able to write two sentence correctly, the structure is good, the use of words is good, the vocabulary is good, the punctuation is good. So I'm gonna maybe give three. So there should be a proper clear rubric. We'll also be providing a sample of rubric. You can take a look at it. So it's important to have that rubric to assess, and also ensure that to ensure any sort of biasness in assessment, and also my understanding as a teacher, because there's a possibility I'm not an expert in the subjects. So this rubric will help me to assess, because in school many times it happens that as a science teacher I have given responsibility of social sciences as well, in absence of another teachers. So these clear rubrics helps you to assess and guide a student effectively. Include real world challenges, which is important because the focus is more on skill building and not only knowing the content. Leverage technology, it's the future. It's even in our current life, we know that in last 2 3 years how frequently we have started using technology, and there's a lot of edtech startups who are focusing a lot on leveraging technology and delivering education using this technology, because this is our current and future. So the other is a reflection and feedback. So it's important when you are like implementing these holistic assessment, it's important to focus on the learning outcome but also the reflection and feedback. You have to keep a clear reflection and feedback loop, that what is happening, how you can make it better while implementing these assessments. So it's important to foster collaboration between student children, giving them autonomy to take decision. Reflect on assessment practices. So, for example, you're using one assessment practice. So, I'm as a school teacher, I'm using exit ticket every time. Is it working? What is the outcome? What if my class is more interested in a discussion, but I'm constantly asking them to write something? So you have to reflect that whatever practice you're using, it's what is the outcome of it? Are the children learning, engaged in it? Is this something which is interesting for them? So these constant reflection is important to implement the strategy of a feedback and vision opportunity. It's important to have feedback loop, what is happening, how it's happening, and how we can make it better, and track the progress. So these assessment, whatever we have discussed, it will help you to understand, assess, and track progress in depth, not only progress in terms of score. So it's important to focus on these things while implementing holistic assessment strategies. So let's see it with the help of a case study. So whatever we have learned so far, we have covered what is assessment, importance of assessment, what NEP is saying, difference between traditional and modern assessment, what are the types of assessment, and and why, how you can utilize these assessment techniques, and what are the things you need to take care of while implementing these strategies. So let's like just have a quick reflection from our end and do a case study. So here I'll be sharing a scenario, and I'll request everyone to please pay attention and participate using whatever we have covered so far. So the scenario is, there's a grade 7 science teacher. The teacher is planning to planning assessment to check student understanding of the carbon cycle. So the aim of the teacher is to engage student in hands-on exploration, critical thinking, and scientific inquiry. So this is the case where this teacher want to assess the topic of carbon cycle, and also want to ensure and check the students are indulged in hands-on exploration, critical thinking, and scientific inquiry when they're part of the when they're giving this assessment. So I'm going to launch a poll here. I'll request everyone to reflect on the scenario and share that which of the following assessment type will be suitable. The 5 assessment type which we have discussed. What do you think? Which one is suitable in this context? So I'm going to launch a poll here. You can take a minute, reflect, and then share that what do you think out of the 5 assessment techniques which we have covered of holistic education, which one is more beneficial? I'm going to publish the result. Most of the people have opted for project-based assessment. So let's see whether the response, whoever have said that it's project-based assessment, let's try to understand, break it down, that what the content is, what the person wants to assess, or as a teacher, what you should be focusing on when you are planning such assessment. And then we'll cover that what is the assessment type which is more suitable. So it's important to define the objective, as I've said that in the implementation part also, that as a teacher or as an educator, you have to, like, when you're going for an assessment, you have to define what you want to assess, and not only knowledge, also the skill and competency you want to judge and also learn student at the same time. So here, if you see, the objective of the assessment is to check the understanding of the carbon cycle of student, and also help student to learn data collection, analyze and analysis, scientific modeling, and communication. So I want to do assessment. I want to do assessment using such method which will cover these things. So as an educator, I'm defining that this is going to be the objective of the assessment. What would be the assessment criteria? What I'll be looking at when I'll assessing them, or when I'll be giving like analyzing the assessment outcome, is the data collection and analysis method, the carbon cycle model, what's the outcome, how they have made it, the presentation skill, who has presented, whether there's teamwork was a, whether there is a teamwork or not, how they have presented, impact analysis. So you have learned the concept. Are you as a student is able to apply those knowledge, whatever you have learned? So it's important when you're deciding an assessment or giving or planning an assessment, just ensure that you have a clear objective and also clear assessment criteria, that if you want to assess something, what would be the criteria of it. So yeah, the many people have got it correct, and I'm so happy to see that response, that the assessment type would be project based learning, because like there is exploration involved, there's presentation skill involved, there is modeling involved, and we have talked about that in project based learning. You can have small scale modeling, presentation skill, also a bit of reflective practices can be part of it. Let's see the second scenario. I like all of most of you have got the correct answer, that it's project based learning. Let's do this activity again. So there's a fourth grade English teacher. The teacher is planning an assessment on punctuation. Please pay attention. The teacher wants to engage student in an interactive exploration. So it's not only just checking the punctuation. It's and the purpose is to indulge in interactive exploration of punctuation rules. So which of the following assessment type will be suitable for this scenario? I'm going to launch another poll here. Please go ahead and vote. What do you think, which would be the most suitable assessment type for this scenario? Performance, okay. Project-based, authentic. Can be more than one type which is suitable for the scenario, but I'm just asking which one, like which out of these five is the most suitable in this context. Okay, I'm gonna publish the results. So most of the people have opted for performance. Let's see what's the response here. Some of the people have also said the authentic assessment. Okay, so I'm going to read the scenario one more time for better understanding. The teacher want to engage student in interactive exploration of punctuation. So as a teacher, again, I'll define the objective of the assessment. So my objective is to ensure that the student will learn punctuation rules. How they're going to learn it? Only by writing, or is like what can be the way of it? And again, the other objective is punctuation contribution to clarify the expression of writing language. So it's the exploration of punctual rule by expressing using writing language. So the assessment criteria is what is the script the student have written, how they have performed the script, and what's the audience engagement. So here I want them to like learn, write it, and then present and perform it. So here the most suitable assessment is authentic assessment. A role play is the best way. So when we see some topic like punctuation or punctuation rule, our first focus is to write and then get it, whether there's a full stop or not, there's a comma or not, a kid is using a capital or small cap. So but here it needs to be interactive while they are learning. So authentic assessment or the role play is the most effective way. Though performance assessment is also correct. You can design and build some activities around that. So hope this like case study may have added some value. So let's move on and reflect a bit on like some of the challenges. So which we have covered that there's traditional assessment, need to move to a modern assessment. But we also know that there are some certain challenges which we face as a school, even if NEP is recommending. They're taking a lot of time. They're giving schools time. They're giving teachers time to start working on it and start implementing it. So let's talk a bit about what are the challenges do you think are implementation challenges of the modern assessment you think you can face in your school or you have faced while assessing these students. So I'm going to launch another poll here. I want everyone to please reflect and share that. What do you think? What can be the challenges of implementing these modern strategies? I've launched the poll. Please go ahead and vote. We have covered modern assessment. What do you think? What can be the possible challenges we can face? I'm going to publish the result here. Oh, sorry, I think I have. So most of the people have voted for teacher lack experience and or training. So that's correct. I think except planning, everything can be a challenge in different scenario depending on the context and the geographical area, the student you're catering. Planning is the solution. It's not one of the challenge for the assessment or implementation of the modern assessment. Let's move on and see that what are the challenges which can come on the way. So there's a lot of resistance to change. So like we all are so used to of doing this traditional assessment that there's a lot of resistance from our end as a like educator, as a school leader, because it's time consuming, resource consuming, a lot of things, and we are used to of doing one thing in one way. So change is difficult, and there's a lot of resistance even from parents' end, because their understanding of a kid performance is based on numbers and the score. If you're going and telling them that we are gonna assess them on holistic parameter, maybe they're not familiar with it, and there can be some resistance from their end as well. As I mentioned, that some of the modern assessment can be easy and quickly done, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of research and training. So it can be time consuming. There are few assessments. Once you will start doing it, it will help you to like schedule and reduce the timing as well. Teacher may lack experience and training as training related to modern technology, modern pedagogy, how to include these strategies in the lesson plan. So there can be a lack of the experience and training. Also resources and materials maybe. So if you want to do activity, you need to have resources to do that. So if I want a child to learn uh, deforestation, so do I have sufficient element in my laboratory to demonstrate that, or sufficient resources to provide the student to go and explore out in the community? So the resources and material can be one of the challenge. Other is scalability. When you see modern assessment, it's with the set of small group of student. But if you have a strength of 40, 45, 50, then doing such activity can be really tedious for the educator, and the learning outcome or the progress tracking, these things can be really tricky if there are like large number of students in the classroom. So these are some of the challenges which you can face. Let's focus on the way to overcome. As I said, that planning is the solution. It's not the challenge. So if you have a proper planning in place, if you make a proper lesson plan and say that, okay, maybe I'll use formative assessment or cushioning, or I'll use discussion for today's assessment, or I'll do a quick quiz or provide an exit ticket. So if you have a proper plan in advance in your lesson plan, it will be easy for you to implement the modern assessment. It's also important to put a lot of emphasis on professional development of teachers and training, because we all are living in evolving world, and we need to keep on upgrading ourselves. It's important. Resource allocation, to do such activities, it's important to allocate certain resources and certain budget in the school. Also, one of the things which end up demoralizing is launching a large scale project, trying to do everything without understanding our own limitations, and that can be a setback for us as a school, and that can demoralize. So it's always a good idea to start with a small pilot project. So you maybe take one class, two class, try to start incorporating these modern assessments there, see how it's working, what are the bare like what are the minimum resources you can have, or how you can have this optimum utilization of the existing resources. So a pilot gives you a lot of understanding about what you have, what is the practicality of the situation, and how much you'll be able to do it. And I'll start including it in small phases instead of just launching it at large scale, failing and then being demoralized and going back to traditional assessment. A clear rubric helps a lot, especially in low-fee private schools. I'll say this again, that the teacher retention, like the responsibility when you teach more than one classroom. So it's important to have clear instruction and rubric for assessment. So these are some of the ways to overcome these challenges, what we have discussed. Let's move on to the summary that what we have covered so far. So I'll just focus on a few of the key things. We started with modern assessment. It's important to develop the 21st century skill, that is communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, decision making, digital literacy, and prepare student for future as well as teachers and school for future. By including these assessment, we have covered the types of assessment for the holistic development of student, that is formative, project-based learning, performance assessment, authentic assessment, technology enhanced assessment, followed by some of the key strategies to implement holistic assessment. The focus should be on learning outcome and fostering reflection and feedback and maintaining that feedback loop. Take a data driven decision. Even when you're picking assessment technique, your data can give a lot of insight. And we have discussed the challenges, but some of the ways to overcome these challenges is planning, professional development, resource allocation, pilot programs, which I feel is quite crucial. And I'll request everyone to give it a try. Go back to your respective school classrooms and do a small pilot using these techniques and see that how effective it is for you. And the other is clear rubric. If you have any question, please raise your hand, and or you can also put it in Q&A section. I'll try to answer, cater whatever I can. So if you want to share something, you can also raise your hand and share that. I can see some requests here in the Q&A section. You'll be getting the recording of the presentation. Also, we'll be sharing a handout for you for your reference. Please stay tuned. Fill the feedback form. We'll also be issuing participation certificates. I have not received any questions so far. Feedback link, yeah, I'll be sharing it soon. Okay, I hope the session may have added some value. So let's move towards our two things which I wanted to cover. We at Vardhana, we have partnered with two academic solutions. One is LEAD and other is CAN. This is for school. LEAD is a innovative tech-based learning solution. So it also it's quite effective because they do a lot of assessment, modern assessment. So they have a lot of formative assessment, performative assessment, a lot of resources for your project-based assessment. So if you're interested and if you want to collaborate with LEAD, do reach out to us. And they have a lot of modern assessment technique as part of the curriculum they are providing. The other is CAN. It's a knowledge vehicle. It's a portable multimedia computer and a projector, which can be effectively used. It's quite cost effective, and this also help you to do this technology enhanced assessment. So these are two academic solutions which we have collaborated with for schools. So if you're interested, you can reach out to us. Our email ID is hello@vardhana.com, and this is our contact number. So thank you for joining us today. I hope the session may have added some value. Also, in coming days, we are coming with another webinar topic, that is why self-evaluation is important for school growth. Please stay tuned to us and join us there as well. So we are looking forward everyone to be part of that webinar as well. We'll be sharing the recording, handouts, everything with you, so you'll get all the material of the webinar. Thank you for joining us today. Have a good week. Good evening.